Tony Brooks was the last surviving race winner from Formula One's golden age. At the dawn of the World Championship, he raced against its legends and became one himself. Twice a title contender. In an era of high attrition, Brooks won 6 Grand Prix, nearly half the F1 races in which he finished. And in the 1950s, only 3 men, Juan Manuel Fangio, Alberto Ascari, and Stirling Moss, won more than him. Brooks was a natural, graceful driver, and a man guided by his self-belief and strong principles. He made his racing debut in 1952 at Goodwood. It was here that he met his friend and future teammate Stirling Moss, and developed his racing ethos, to be neat and on the right line. Training to be a dentist, by 1955 Brooks was racing sports cars for Aston Martin, before a surprise phone call that autumn would change the direction of his life. While treating a patient, he was interrupted by a call from Connaught team boss Rodney Clark, offering him the chance to make his Formula One debut at the Syracuse Grand Prix, a non-championship race held in Sicily. Brooks arrived having never sat in an F1 car before. He missed a practice session and had to learn the bumpy street circuit on a borrowed Vespa. Yet remarkably, he qualified third. And on race day, with metronomic precision, Brooks held on to take a stunning debut victory, a truly rare feat. The unassuming Brooks went straight back to his studies in Manchester, but the racing dentist was suddenly in demand. In 1956, Brooks signed for BRM as number 2 to future world champion Mike Hawthorn. But it was a difficult season. Stunned by a vicious accident at Silverstone where Brooks was thrown out of his car and was lucky to escape with minor injuries. In 1957, Brooks joined Vanwall alongside Moss and Stuart Lewis-Evans. He excelled at circuits with no margin for error and chased the great Fangio hard at Monaco, finishing second. But another big accident at the Le Mans 24 Hours interrupted Brooks' momentum. Trapped under his car, he only managed to scramble clear when another driver crashed into him. It was a miraculous escape, followed by an extended stay in hospital. Neither the Silverstone nor Le Mans crashes affected Brooks' belief in his ability, but they did change his racing philosophy, and he vowed that he would never again risk his life in a car that wasn't fit to be raced on the limit. Brooks returned to F1 for the 1957 British Grand Prix. Despite only just leaving hospital, he amazingly qualified in third at Aintree, but wasn't sure he had the stamina to go the distance. Brooks agreed to swap cars with his teammates if they ran into problems, which is exactly what happened. He was called in to hand over his Vanwall to Stirling Moss, with the pair sharing the first win for a British team in a World Championship race. In 1958, Brooks was at the peak of his powers. He won at Spa-Francorchamps, a track he adored. He also excelled at the formidable Nürburgring, where he caught the Ferraris to win by a clear margin, a victory he described as his greatest race. Brooks finished third in the championship, with 3 wins, behind Moss and champion Mike Hawthorn. In 1959, Ferrari signed Brooks, who would become their number 1 driver. The Briton took the flag at a punishing German Grand Prix held at Avus, a fast and furious street circuit with a perilous stretch of banking. He was in contention for the title at Sebring, but when he was hit from behind by Ferrari teammate Wolfgang von Trips, he stuck to his promise that he wouldn't push on with a compromised car. The decision to pit and check for damage ended his title hopes, but was one he never came to regret, remaining proud he had stuck to his word. Brooks was never crowned F1 world champion, but was undoubtedly one of the greats of his era. He retired from Formula One in 1961, on the podium in Watkins Glen. And not yet 30, he closed the door on racing for good. He never spoke to his children about his fantastic feats or displayed any of his hard-won trophies. It spoke volumes about Brooks's modesty. He may never have acknowledged it himself, but Tony Brooks will be remembered as an all-time great of Grand Prix racing.